We teach boys to be afraid of fear.
But at home, we are all treated equally, and I feel like feminism is all about that, so treating males and females the same way.
Can I just stand up so that everybody can see? So, for me, it's about liberating and emancipating the idea of a woman being an object on the wall. Do you understand? Yeah. So it's about changing the view that a woman is a painting on the wall, that she can't move, that she can't say, that she can't walk, that she can't walk. That's it.
I've been woken up to a world where I've been told that there's bad feminism and good feminism, right? But what is being portrayed as feminism in public or in society, so to say, when we were introduced to the idea of feminism, the idea that was introduced to us is of women who are trying to elevate more than men are, actually. So they end up hating men, they end up coming up with idea. It's more like when you succeed as a woman, it's no longer your success as an individual. It's a success because you are a woman, and now you have to compare yourself with others. So that is the idea that is being sold. Even when there are problems, whereby like it's not a matter of us having to look at, but just to get the short story, I mean a long story short, because I can go the whole night. What I'm saying in context is that the idea of feminism that is out there is perhaps not what is actually true. But the idea that is there is that women are men haters, women are trying to be above men, and women feel suppressed each and every time that they have to be in competition with the men, regardless of whether it is on fair grounds or not. Yeah, but that's how short I can keep.
Thank you. I'd like to add that a feminist can also be a man, number one, because if you believe in the empowerment of women as a man, if you believe that we live in a society that actually needs to be conscious about the presence of a woman and how she can impact the entire, society, it means that you also are a feminist. So either a male or even if you're a male, you can also be called a feminist because you are an advocate for women empowerment, you are an advocate for equality and equity within the society. So yes.
My name is Nai. What I understand about feminism as a girl, it's about moving from gender inequalities between men and men. And these are the things that women in the society talk about, things that they experience. It's about moving away from patriarchy, and it's also about the lived experiences that they've had. Like in her book, she talks about the ways in which the society perceives women. Like she gave example whereby she went to in a restaurant, and when they got there, they just say hi to the guy and they ignore him. And then this other time,
Feminism is about promoting equality
of men and women
and advocating for women's rights, and kind of just making sure that women are at the same level as men are, and they're given the same respect that men receive. So I know that some people see feminism as men hating, but that is a different kind of, it's misunderstanding, not feminism.
People saying that
as we're talking about feminism, we must talk about equality of both the sexes. But I think that is untrue. You know why? Because there's a term for equality of both sexes. It's called egalitarianism. That's the word for the equality of the two sexes. If we're talking about feminism, we are focusing on women. We are not saying we want to be above men, but we are saying we are going to focus on women. So we must not talk about equality of both the sexes. But that doesn't mean we're suppressing them. So I just wanted to confirm or correct that.
You did.
I respond to the idea that feminism has been misconcepted into an idea of sort of ahead of men and whatnot, right? And the idea that you brought in, I just want to point out that it's a very sticky conversation if we want to reduce the feminist movement to simplify it in this manner, right? So I think we just need to understand the complexities of it, and the whole idea that we can't praise someone for being woman first and then we should just say no just because of this. We can't do that because that's not what has been happening in society, right? So we can't move forward without looking back to what has happened, right? And the whole idea of men that can be feminists, it's a very sick conversation because we have to understand that men in society have this very paternal factor that comes with them. So when they come into spaces, they want to take over, right? So if we're saying that men can be feminists as well, there is some sort of paternalistic nature that's going to come with that will take over the whole idea of feminism. So we can say that men can ally with feminists, but they can never be at the forefront of anything. So we are saying that they're allies, they're part of the community, in the same way that white people can't stand in anything that has to do with black spaces. So we can't say that, no, they're feminists, they're men, they can also help us do this. No, they can be at the back and give the support that is necessary at all.
Kind of like change the angle and make them understand and see how they could also benefit from feminism. There's a hand here. Oh.
Hello guys, my name is Tim. Firstly, I would like to touch on the matter. Sorry if I'm not answering directly because I wanted to answer in the previous question. What I would first like to say is that we also need to look at the matter of how we are raised. In different cultures, we are raised in different ways, and from the conversations that we usually have and we do not pay attention to, those are the conversations that stick onto your mind. You know, the brain works in a really funny way that you can say something and not paying attention to it, like in adverts. There are adverts that you usually don't watch and say, this advert bores me, but as time goes on, you would find yourself reciting that advert. Now, in conversations that we do not take, like, we do not mind and everything, like sitting at the shop saying that, hey, Fetu, you hit me like your punch is like that of a girl and everything and things like that, mainly touching on masculinity. Those are the things that we usually say and do not pay attention to their effect. Then, when I'm sitting at home thinking, ish, I'm not going to fit in that crew only because they say I hit like a girl.
Yes.
Hi guys. I just wanted to mention, so earlier someone said something about how if when a woman achieves something, they first celebrate it for being a woman. And so I wanted to go back to that point. I just think it shows that it shows how we still have a long way to go in society. The fact that a woman will be celebrated for being a woman first before they celebrate it for the achievement, it still shows how unequal we are, and we still need. It shows how far we still need to go as society as a whole. So I think the idea of feminism is that we need to get to a point whereby, like, I think that's the ideal, to get to a place whereby when a woman achieves something, it's not like, ooh, a woman did this, you know, like it's not a wow thing. It's like, oh, this is normal. Like, a woman did this, yeah, sure, let's move on. So I think that's the whole aim, that's the whole point, and yeah.
it also depends on the environment you grow up in, right? Is it relevant in South Africa? Because the author wrote the book in Nigeria, and most of the things she talks about are things that happen in Nigeria. So for us to relate, we have to talk about incidences that happen within our spaces, within our country, right? Do we get it? So is it relevant in South Africa? Yes, no. Yep, yeah. So it's you noted. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know about the question, but what I want to say to that question is that it's relevant everywhere. Whether third world, whether first world, feminism is relevant because sexism manifests itself in different ways. So when you start talking about, but our parameters, but this, you trying to exempt other groups of men and other groups of oppressors against others, say, oh no, it's in the rural areas only because we're educated and we're this, we wouldn't oppress a woman, but you get into a workplace and you're not getting promoted as a woman, or you're not getting certain opportunities as a woman solely because you're a woman, not because you aren't as qualified, not because you're not working as hard, just because you're a woman. And this is a educated space, this is a sophisticated space, supposedly, you see. So it's not just parameters and only these confined areas that will, need feminism.
Is the priorities in a specific society because of history. So back during wars, what was a priority was men fighting those wars. So therefore men were a priority because they were the people who would actually save the country. So then patriarchy was then built on the fact that since men are more important in this specific era, then they have to be held in a higher stage. But then the problem is that since wars have changed and everything has changed, that mental state that men are more powerful and they can control or sort of save a country during war has still been put, and it's still in some people's minds.
The very same way we do not understand, or people don't understand feminism, that you can't be Muslim and be feminist. You are going against, if you're doing things that are not against God, how are you against your own religion? And you have to understand things before. If you're outside, it's very easy to judge. But until you're in there, people use religion for their power, like, okay, God said this, they only quote that verse that they want. The very same way they say, for example, Dream Africa, so where do you find that verse? Where do you find it? Because it's better
the motherhood of feminism came in that they were trying to challenge the laws, but it's now being used to challenge the ideas of people in such a way that it's now being used to fight for social freedom, whereby like now it's no longer about challenging those laws. The laws have been defeated. Like on paper, the sexism war has been won in many countries, but it's now a matter of changing the perspectives of the people. So how do you do that? Political influence. How do the politics influence that? They influence the laws, right? Now they're playing the game in such a way that it's no longer just about putting it on paper, but it's actually inflicting it mentally on people. And they do so via media and whichever factors that they can use to promote the whole thing of making men be above men. But the same thing that we must realize here, I'm sorry I'm going a bit out of context, is that now it's becoming a problem in that we have women who are now in the feminism, I don't know how to classify, who are pushing the feminism idea, but now they are not different from those men who inflicted this thing on women. So now we have to be careful of what we are creating. Let me just leave it there.
So we need to look at social construct. How is society, constructed? How you have white males on top and white females, understand? And then you have black males and then you have black females. And then what sets of values are in place for it to perpetuate it? And what roles are associated with those values in it as well? And then once you can understand how it's set up, then you can go about deconstructing it. So for me, if I was to say we're in the process of deconstructing something, it means that what you need to put forth is a different set of values, regardless of it's in religion or and it's values that are applicable throughout. So if you are a Muslim, if you are someone, if you're saying treat the next person the way you want to be treated, it's a value that's applicable throughout gender anyway. Look at someone the way you want to be looked at. Don't materialize someone, you understand? So I think we need to go back, set back, understand where we are, how we came here, and what is it that made us to come here.
Evening again, everyone. I'm Timothy. The way forward about this idea, as the Muslim said it, like we are here to exchange ideas and it is to be on the same sphere. Number one, we have to get it right, the misconception about the feminism. Because from what you have said, we still lack the straight way forward about this idea. So there we need to put ourselves in the same position or what it means. But I've heard from the previous speakers, it is more based on the equalities. On that equalities aspect, it's not necessary that only women are the ones who are being oppressed and now they need to be empowered. So, from what most of us encounter is like, now you are fighting for just women only. But again, you're saying you are fighting for the equality. But we know the equality exists between the between the different genders, right? So that, let's get it right, the misconception, so that we all like preach, seeing the same thing. And secondly, we have to distract the old ideas, and the way of doing that is to engage in conversations. As we start to engage, that's when things, the belief systems that we grew up with, right, which were relevant then, but due to the changes now, are no longer relevant. As we engage, again, we are getting to the same point.
I like the fact that they touched on culture, and in Chimamanda's speech, there's a word that she actually says, in which, open quote, she says, culture does not make people, people make culture. If it is true that the full humanity of women is not our culture, then we can and must make it our culture, close quote. So with culture, it's how we've been socialized and how we've been raised. It is in us and within us to change that culture. If means must be, then we must redefine culture. If we say men cannot cry because they are men, it shows that it's a sign of weakness. Then as this generation, as this youth, we can then say, no, it is fine for a man to cry, it is fine for a man to cook. We should redefine culture so that in generations to come, people can actually live with the culture that we have built, because we're living in the culture that was built in the past. And if you look at the past and the cultures or the socialization that we used to, it's sort of oppression for women in other cultures. She mentioned that Islam women are being oppressed in the way that they do things. It is not only Islam women, but a majority of women in all spectrums.
I know how it is difficult to publish, so some people don't understand that when you publish, there is self-publishing, whereby you publish your book and you're on your own, and you don't have anything to leverage on. Or you can go the traditional way, whereby then you must sign contracts and then the companies must own the copyright of your book. But what we do is called hybrid publishing. It's between self-publishing and the traditional publishing. What we do, we're going to take you from the manuscript to your book. what you're going to leverage on is the community and the family that we have built, the media opportunities that we have, but you own the copyright of your book and you can do as you please with your books. And what we can say is that, so here is our banner, and now that you are here, and now that you have remained here until this far, we were hoping that we can boil water and we can have some coffee. This is not our usual space. We usually use African Flavor Book Store, which is our home where we usually have our book sessions. So our systems are in order there. So here we have some technical failure. So we'll have juice and biscuits, and those who may like, there's wine and there's water. So yeah, just engage and indulge there. Thank you very much, guys, for being here today. Thank you very much. See